everybody, I'm Sean, and I am the guy behind the modern DT&I models and videos that you see out of Las Vegas. I am now in Ohio for the holidays, and I am standing in front of the Wellston Depot in southern Ohio, which was once part of the Chesapeake in Ohio. And I thought I would do an on-location video of some of the sites that I model, including here in Wellston, and we're going to head over to Jackson in a few minutes, which was the southernmost terminal of the DT&I. We're also going to take a look at some of the C&O signals out in Chillicothe, which some of you have requested to see, as well as some of the other sites around here. So let's get started and see what we can see. Alright, now we're in Jackson, and as you can see behind me, there is a preserved C&O caboose, and in front of me is a preserved C&O depot, which I'll get video of here in just a second. The operating rail line is the remnants of the C&O, and it is now operated by U.S. Rail. In what I model, it is operated, of course, by the DT&I. But in reality, the DT&I did have operating rights over it down to Ironton. In just a few minutes, we're going to get video of the remnants of the DT&I car shops and the DT&I depot, which still exists, and the DT&I sanding tower, which still stands here in Jackson, and a few other things that stand around here in Jackson that have inspired some things on my layout. So let's take a look at some scenes here in Jackson. Looking now towards the DT&I car shops, and we're looking towards where the DT&I crossed over the C&O and onto the B&O for trackage rights over the B&O to Ironton. You can just barely see the DT&I car shops with the logo in the shot there, and we'll go over there in just a few minutes. Okay, you're looking now at the old DT&I depot in Jackson. I am actually standing on the right-of-way. You can see an old telephone pole there. And I'll walk a little ways here and you can look up what would have been Jackson Yard. Alright, you can see some remnants of the rail there, and an old bumper post up to the sanding tower, along with some of the sanding equipment. And the classic DT&I maintenance of way building there. Unmistakable style. A hose hang up. We would have been looking right down the yard tracks all the way down there. Alright, now we are at the DT&I's car shops in Jackson, Ohio. It's one of the most iconic parts of the DT&I, and these were in service all the way up till 1984, which was the closing of the south end of the DT&I. So let's see if we can get a little bit better view here. is the Ford style logo, and it is the only Ford style logo with the red shadow that you see there on the building. And if you can see the sign there, it's now a warehouse. Pretty much survives intact though. All the buildings still stand, including the roundhouse, which you can't see from over here. Let's see what else we can see around Jackson. You're looking down the main line of the original DT&I out of Jackson. The spur to the right is to the Ohio Basic Minerals sand and gravel plant. This is, of course, now is all U.S. rail. Nice to see the old DT&I in operation though. The spur is brand new. This is Ohio Basic Minerals. This is the inspiration for my sand and gravel plant on the layout. Obviously mine is not this elaborate, but like I said in earlier layout updates, I have photographs to add to the backdrop, and I have sand drying towers still to add to the building. So it will come out looking something like this. There is the sand loader. And they just finished that, so they haven't started rail service yet, but that should be starting up anytime soon. They just put in the new rail spur. And this is on the original main line out of Jackson on the DT&I. Alright, now we're in Byre, Ohio, one time called Byers Junction, and we're looking at where the Wellston line for the B&O came off of the Parkersburg subdivision. This line formerly went to Wellston, and this was the B&O main line from St. Louis to Washington, D.C. Still in pretty good shape. Of course, this is one of the great tragedies in railroading. In perfect operation one day, tip-top main line, and the next day called it quits and abandoned by CSX. And in my railroading, of course, this is still one of the DT&I's main lines. One of the advantages of modeling a fictional railroad: you can keep what you want. Typical southern Ohio scenery. You can see plenty of inspiration for my backdrops and everything on the layout. One other site here in Byre we're going to see. And we're looking at one of the tunnels on the old Ohio division, on the Parkersburg to Cincinnati main line of the B&O, now U.S. Rail. It ought to look sort of familiar because it was the inspiration for the tunnel on my layout. See the old pole line up there. Almost looks like a modern day train could come running through it any minute. Still in very good shape. This was formerly abandoned in the 80s, purchased by the city of Jackson. Now, about a mile up that way, there is another tunnel, which I'm not going to walk through the snow to get to today. It is wooden portal construction instead of stone like this one. The only two tunnels left on the surviving main line. Okay, for those of you that wanted to see some C&O signals, here's a pretty good view of some of them. We're at Voss's, Ohio, where the old B&O and C&O came together. Looks like they were working on a switch down there. And in the middle 1980s, some DT&I trains ran through here when they routed around Summit Hill. We're going to head on further into Chillicothe and see if we can get some other views around town. Alright, now we're at VA Cabin. This is where the B&O split off and went into town. Looks like we've got a train lined up here, so if we wait a little bit, we can see. Behind me you can see where the B&O split off. Of course it's abandoned now. Most of the signals are still intact. DT&I trains coming up out of Waverly would have left the C&O at this point and headed into Chillicothe.